The universe has something essential to share with you right now. Not everything needs to be said out loud to have an impact. There are silent truths that are revealed only when you look beyond the words. And today the universe wants you to listen with your heart, because there is someone who, even in silence, is feeling your presence. That connection hasn't faded. And what seemed confusing may be about to make sense. There is something about you that few really know. A part that was shaped by silent pain, daily overcoming, and choices that no one applauded. The marks you carry don't appear in your smile, but they are there inside your chest, like reminders of everything you faced to become who you are today. The universe recognizes this. And more than that, there is one person who has begun to see all of this too. Even without saying a word, your energy speaks for you. His story is imprinted in simple gestures, in the way he looks, in the way he offers affection, without demanding anything in return. This person feels that there is something deep there, something that cannot be explained in short sentences. And little by little you began to realize how rare you are, because even having lived so long, you are still capable of loving in a pure way. She thinks about everything you must have been through, how you held on even when there seemed to be no support at all. She tries to imagine how it was possible for you to rebuild yourself so many times and still not lose the desire to give of yourself. And that's exactly what touches you, the fact that you could have chosen to close yourself off, but you chose to continue loving. Maybe you come from a past full of difficult relationships. May have faced silent traumas, grown up in environments where affection was scarce or conditioned. But you decided to break away from all that, you decided not to repeat the same patterns. And even if not everyone knows it, this person does. She watches you as if discovering something valuable. There is a growing, almost silent admiration for this strength that you do not display arrogantly, but that shines through in the way you walk, in the words you choose, in the patience you demonstrate. She can't understand how someone who has suffered so much is still able to offer so much. When he looks at you, he doesn't just see the present. You see layers and layers of untold stories, of silences that say more than any speech. See a heart that has already been broken, but still beats with hope. And this confuses her, fascinates her, moves her, because it is not common. You are one of those presences that changes the environment without making a fuss. People like that are rare. They arrive and suddenly everything around seems lighter, more possible, more true. And even if you don't realize it, your existence profoundly impacts those who come close to you. This person, in particular, feels all of this with an intensity that they may not even be able to explain properly. She began to understand that it is not just about superficial attraction or admiration. There's something there that pulls her closer. A recognition that transcends time, fears, judgments, as if I had found something I was looking for without knowing it. And even when separated, even in silence, she feels his absence, his presence, his silence, all at the same time. This happens because the connection between you does not depend on logic. It is something that vibrates at another frequency, and the universe confirms it. Yes, there is something being felt on both sides. No matter how much you have learned to move forward without being tied down, no matter how much you have cultivated your independence, there is still a bond between you, not like a prison, but like a living reminder that love is still worth it. And that person realizes that. She feels your absence when you walk away, but at the same time she respects your space because she understands the depth of your process. She silently wonders if you still think about her, and wonders how can someone who has been through so much still want to love someone like her? And the answer that the universe whispers is simple, precisely for this reason, because you love with maturity, with truth, with presence. And she, even without knowing what to do with it, feels deeply touched. She hasn't heard your voice in a while, but she listens to you all the time. It's strange to say this, but this person feels your presence even when there is no direct exchange, no message, no visible sign. And that's where the confusion lies, because the silence between you is not empty. Quite the contrary, it carries meanings that she is still trying to decipher. She thinks about the times you walked away, how long it took you to understand that this wasn't goodbye, but a way of respecting yourself. Over time, absence stopped being a reason for insecurity and became proof of maturity. You didn't disappear, you preserved yourself, and now she knows it. The truth is that you remain connected. Physical distance did not cancel out the energy exchange. The time without contact did not lessen the intensity. The connection between you operates on a level beyond explanation, a feeling that resonates deeply. She experiences it in dreams, in spontaneous thoughts, and in striking coincidences. Your name appears, songs that evoke memories of you play, and patterns that once seemed random now hold meaning, leading her to wonder if you're trying to communicate something. While unsure, she undeniably feels it. The universe has been quietly working to sustain this bridge. Even when you chose solitude for healing, and even when she believed you were lost, the energy between you persisted, now seemingly stronger than ever. She recalls how, in the past, any delay in response felt like disinterest, and fear often overshadowed intuition. But today, a new understanding has emerged. You're not withdrawing due to a lack of affection, you're simply prioritizing self-care before fully engaging. This realization has transformed everything for her. She now understands that you've learned to create space, to trust in divine timing, and that only someone who has truly healed is capable of such a profound act. This impresses her more than any declaration, recognizing the rarity of loving without suffocation, feeling without controlling, and being present even in absence. The silence that once felt empty is now imbued with meaning, a silence born of respect, pause, and unspoken love. She feels this deeply, sometimes experiencing literal physical sensations, sudden emotions, or a longing that isn't entirely her own, as if her feelings are transcending time and space to reach you. Simultaneously, she knows she's doing the same, unconsciously sending you messages. You might not consciously perceive them, but you sense a shift in the atmosphere, an unbidden thought, or an inexplicable stirring within you. It's her, it's the connection. Without words, you are communicating volumes to each other. She wonders if you feel it too, if you recognize the signs, if you comprehend the enduring strength between you. Despite not knowing your answers, she continues to feel, respect, and wait. This waiting, however, is not passive. It's an active, mature anticipation. She knows that if it's meant to be, it will unfold at the opportune moment. Until then, she dedicates herself to self-care, strengthening herself, and living fully. This isn't surrender but an act of self-love, a recognition that loving another doesn't necessitate abandoning oneself. In some way, you've taught her this. You've shown that it's possible to distance oneself without severing ties, to feel without possessing, and that sincere silence can also be a gesture of love. She experiences longing, yes, but a longing that no longer inflicts pain. Instead, it inspires, reminding her how valuable those past feelings were and how much potential still remains. The universe is whispering to both of you, it's not over yet. There's something unresolved, not in the sense of an outstanding issue, but rather untapped potential. Something yet to be fully experienced remains alive, despite the silence. Perhaps you are both maturing independently, preparing to reconnect in a fresh, clearer, freer, and more authentic way. For anyone else, sending a message might be simple, but for her, when it comes to you, everything changes. She rehearses, rewrites, deletes, and rethinks. It's not exactly fear, it's an immense respect for what you feel. Every move towards you feels like it needs to be meticulously precise, because you matter more than she'd like to admit. The truth is, you were never just anyone else. From the very beginning, there was something distinct. That's why she deliberates so much before acting. She doesn't want to intrude, appear needy, or force anything. She simply desires that if contact occurs, it be genuine, pure, and worthy of you both. You might believe a simple hello would suffice, but for her, your response to that hello is paramount. She wonders, will you create space, or will you retreat again? Will you understand the gesture, or will you shield yourself as if under attack? She has come to realize your sensitivity, that you feel more than you show, and that you observe everything, including what remains unsaid. This creates a dilemma: how to approach someone so special without appearing too fragile, too vulnerable, or too intense. She perceives you as being on a different frequency, someone who has embarked on a profound healing journey, who isn't satisfied with superficial connections, and who discerns nuances in silences and intentions in gestures. Consequently, she knows she cannot approach superficially, and this makes her nervous because there's so much she yearns to express, yet she fears saying it incorrectly. It's not pride, it's genuine care. She doesn't want you to misinterpret her, to think she's returning out of need, or that she's trying to resolve something. It's not about rectifying the past, it's about forging something new from the lessons learned. But how does one articulate all this without sounding overly dramatic or confusing? She then falls silent. Yet this silence, as we've established, isn't absence. It's a purposeful pause, a form of waiting. During this time, she observes, feels, and notices when your patterns shift, when you subtly appear, when your energy draws near. She registers every detail, each becoming a sign, sometimes a relief, sometimes an invitation. She wants you to understand that your response holds immense sway. A tone of voice, a misspoken word, a veiled disinterest, all make a difference. She senses it from afar, because this connection is woven not just by words, but by what vibrates behind them. There are moments when she almost calls you, almost writes, almost appears. But something holds her back, not from a lack of will, but from the intuition that you might still need space. And she wants to respect that, desiring a reunion that is complete, authentic, and free of defenses. Still, she holds a quiet expectation. Not a demand, but a silent question: do you miss it too? Do you think of her the way she thinks of you? She longs to know if there's still room within you for what you shared, and for what remains unexperienced. She doesn't demand promises, only presence, a sincere look, a word that says, "I feel it too." With you, she seeks no games, no calculations, no strategies, only the unvarnished truth, yours and hers. Perhaps that's why she hesitates so much. What she feels for you is too profound to be offered carelessly. The universe watches this silent dance carefully, seeing you both navigating this unspoken approach, like someone groping in the dark, seeking each other without getting lost. And it confirms, this connection still holds strength, still has room to flourish, but it demands courage from both of you. Silence offers safety, but love thrives on risk, and she is preparing to take that risk again. If you show her you're worth it, you may have no idea how much you mean to her. It's not idealization, nor is it born of need. It's something more subtle, yet profoundly deep. You appeared at a time when she had ceased to expect much from connections. She had grown accustomed to absences, to empty conversations, to relationships where fear overshadowed truth. But then you arrived, and without making promises, without exaggeration, without imposing yourself, you shook everything up. Since then, nothing has been the same. She began to reevaluate certainties, to revisit decisions, even to question her own defenses, because the way you saw her, even without saying it, was different. Not as someone observing from the outside, but as someone perceiving what lies within. And that realization transformed her. You were a kind of mirror, reflecting parts she had hidden. Brought to light, these parts began to breathe again. Little by little, she allowed herself to feel more, be more, desire more. But with that also came fear, the fear of not being adequate for the connection, of being too much or not enough, of loving and not being loved in return, of giving herself entirely and losing once again. She didn't want to push you away, but sometimes she didn't know how to reveal herself, and that's why she remained silent. Perhaps it seemed like disinterest, or indifference, but it wasn't. It was protection. It was an attempt to grapple with something she still couldn't name. Now, with the passage of time and the silence between you, she understands better. She understands that what you feel hasn't faded, that it wasn't a fleeting phase, that it wasn't an illusion. She realizes that your presence continues to reside within her as a reference, as something that inspires her to be better, not to impress you, but because next to someone like you, superficiality makes no sense. You impacted her in ways you cannot even imagine. The way you speak, the way you listen, the way you exist, all of this stayed with her, not as a burden, but as a mark, a reminder that there are people who truly feel, truly see, truly care. She doesn't know if you noticed, but everything she experienced with you had a cumulative effect. A word here, a gesture there, a lingering look. These are details she mentally revisits, trying to understand what they meant to you, because they meant so much to her. And when she realizes you are apart, she misses it. Not just the interaction, but the version of herself that you awakened, a lighter, more sincere version, more connected with what truly matters. That's why she feels insecure when contemplating getting closer, not because you made her feel small, but because she sees you as significant, and that, in a way, intimidates her. She is afraid of ruining what was beautiful, of reappearing and not knowing how to sustain everything she feels. But there is a part of her that has already decided, that wants to try. She understands that time has passed, but that the feeling remains, and that perhaps precisely for that reason it is worth it, because what resists time is generally true. She just needs to feel that you are still there, that you haven't completely closed yourself off, that there is still room, even if small, for a new approach, more mature, more conscious, more sincere. The universe watches all this with compassion. It knows how much you have grown since your first meeting and recognizes that, although there are still doubts, the desire to reconnect is real. Not because she misses the past, but because she wants to build something different in the present. This person misses you, not in a desperate way, but as someone who knows that something important is no longer there. And she would like to bring it back, not by copying what was, but by creating what can be. And you, do you feel that way too? There is something in this story that no analysis can exhaust. Something that remains even when all the words have been said, when all the hypotheses have been raised, and even when time seems to have taken everything away, what still remains is the feeling. You remain present in a way that the other person cannot deny. Even on days when she tries to distract herself, when she rationalizes or tries to convince herself that everything is over, something inside her insists. It still matters. And the most curious thing is that she no longer wants to repeat old patterns. She doesn't want to go back to what she was, which she wants, and maybe you do too. It's a real new beginning, something truer, calmer, more honest, without masks, without haste, without the burden of perfection. She feels that she has matured, that now she could look at you in a new way, and more than that, she could welcome you as you are. Because now she understands that loving isn't trying to change anyone, it's recognizing the other person as they are. Even in silences, pauses, and fears. They still feel fear, yes, but it's a different fear. It doesn't paralyze you, it just makes you walk more carefully, with more presence, with more truth. She knows that if this reunion happens, it cannot be on impulse, nor out of need. It needs to come from a conscious place, from the heart, yes, but also from the soul. The universe confirms, this connection is still alive, and more than that, it is still possible, because you are no longer at the same point as before. Now there is clarity, maturity, and a new perspective on everything that has already been experienced. She wants you to know, you are important. He was. And perhaps it will come to pass in ways neither of them can foresee. Now there is something about you that has awakened in her the desire to be better, and that would be enough. But deep down she feels there could still be more. Maybe you still laugh together about silly things. Perhaps they share unlikely plans. Maybe they look at each other as if they know exactly what they are feeling, without needing to translate. Perhaps all of this is still kept in a corner of time, waiting for the right moment to manifest itself. And that moment may be closer than it seems. The universe is organizing encounters, coincidences, crossed paths. It is creating spaces so that, if you choose, you can come closer again, with more awareness and less expectation, with more surrender and less idealization, because true love does not shout, does not demand, does not force. It reveals itself over time, in silent presence, in spontaneous care, in the genuine desire to see the other grow. And all this exists between you. She doesn't know if you'll respond, she doesn't know if you'll look for her, but she knows that if there is a reunion, it will be welcome. Not with a party, not with promises, but with truth, with that look that says, I understand, I feel, I want to try too. She's ready, and maybe you are too. And even if you don't know yet how this new encounter will be, one thing is certain. The feeling exists, and it doesn't need to be explained to be real. You touched someone deeply, with your presence, with your silence, with your essence, and that is already love. No matter how much time passes or what has happened, true love does not disappear. It just transforms, and sometimes is reborn stronger than ever. If this story spoke to you, write in the comments. I really feel it in silence. This is a way of telling the universe that there is an opening in your heart. Share this message with those who need to hear it. And if you believe in the power of reunion, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The universe still has a lot to reveal to you. Until the next video.